I want to get into the DeMeco Ryans philosophy. What is DeMeco Ryans coaching philosophy? We're still kind of learning. It seems to be very culture heavy. It seems to be something that the Texans have bought into. But from like an on-field philosophical perspective, we have a decent grasp of what he does on defense. Although we have seen the one thing that we have seen is he's not stubborn when it comes to what he does on the field. He's very, very open-minded. And the prime example of that was last year, the two matchups between the Texans and the Browns. The first ones where the Browns came to Houston and completely thumped the Texans around. Amari Cooper set the world on fire. Damn near it felt like 300 yards. And after the game, DeMeco said, we don't do that, when asked why Derek Stingley didn't follow around Amari Cooper. And as a Texans fan that has seen coaches kind of stubbornly be committed to what they do, regardless of whether it is or isn't in the best interest of the team, you kind of cringed a little bit because you wondered, okay, is DeMeco really this married to this philosophy, or is he going to be able to change and adapt? And in the playoff game, we saw Derek Stingley follow around Amari Cooper, and we saw Amari Cooper shut down. The reality is we're still learning about DeMeco Ryans and his on-field philosophies, but there's been a lot of things to be excited about. It is the locker room, the number one source for Texans digital content. I'm Landry Locker. I'm on the scene. This is the best place for digital content. We're already 2 years in, and we've posted over damn near 1,100 videos. So the consistency's there, and it's only going to get better. So continue to ride along, get the pulse of what's going on with the Texans, and get some exclusive content that you can't get anywhere else, whether you are or not a Texans fan. The other day, we saw DeMeco Ryans go for two early in the game, up 5. And it was interesting because in the past, we've seen DeMeco in that same situation, and he just took the points. Very next night, while watching through the localized lenses, watch Kyle Shanahan, one of DeMeco's mentors. He was in the same situation, and he took the points. But I've actually seen Kyle go for two early on as well. So I asked DeMeco Ryans yesterday at practice, what goes into that philosophy? And here's what DeMeco had to say as we continue to kind of get to know what he's about and what the philosophies are.
Sometimes you go for two when you're up 5 early, and sometimes you don't. Kyle did the same thing the next night. He was in a different situation. He didn't go for it. But I've seen y'all both handle it different ways. What goes into that? The differing ways. What goes into that decision to go for two or to not go for two early on?
Yeah, like I said earlier with our analytics piece, some of it is analytics for the most part. If you want to go up, score on the guys, you try to go for two. And some of it is, just feel, but most of it is just points and where we are at that time in the game. Whether it's early or late, most of that will depend on our analytics.
And I think it's kind of a balance. I think the Texans do a good job of balancing analytics with feel. And we really haven't seen DeMeco in like a high pressure, real high pressure, like this decision matters type of situation, like an intense, like you got to throw the challenge flag here or whatever. He's actually only missed one challenge, and the challenges have been very effective. The clock management's been pretty good for the most part, and we're still kind of learning about DeMeco. But I think getting to know what he does philosophically on the field has been interesting. But the most encouraging thing we've seen is I don't think he's married to one way. He's not stuck in his ways, despite being a player. A lot of times you see a player, there's kind of a hard-ass presentation, hard-ass mindset. You see a defensive-minded coach, hard-ass mindset. We don't see that with DeMeco. So he has all of this charisma, and he has all of these skins on the wall and stuff, but he doesn't seem too married. He seems very open-minded. And that was the thing that he said this year that he wanted to work on the most. John McClain asked him, what do you want to work on the most as a coach? And DeMeco Ryans said, I want to communicate more with my assistants. I want to be more of an open book with my assistant coaches, which he doesn't have to do that. Like DeMeco Ryans can do whatever the hell he wants here. But the fact that that is his goal, that kind of just shows, and you can kind of see it on the field. You can definitely see it through the locker room. Like when it comes to the intangibles, a lot of times coaches will go up there and say, on to the next game, or I'm not fazed by this. You kind of roll your eyes. DeMeco Ryans goes up there and says it, and you really kind of believe it. And it's still kind of an eye roll for me because I'm like, man, how is this guy like not really – how can you really be about this life? And it seems like he's always been about this life. And you talk to players who play with him, it's like, yeah, this has always been him. It's not like he matured into this. it's really interesting. It's interesting to see the philosophy. But as far as chasing the 2 points, and we're going to get practice reports, a couple of important pieces potentially missing Sunday night, where the Texans are a 7-point favorite at home for the first time in 5 years. Couple of key pass catchers, maybe from one point of view, maybe not so much from the Texans. We'll also hear from one of the most popular rookies who's been shouted out throughout the week. But the philosophy of when to and when not to go for two, I don't have like a strong set in stone philosophy on that. There's one thing that pisses me off more than anything when it comes to football. It's not understanding the value of a timeout relative to 5 yards. If it's 3rd and 8, going back to 3rd and 13 and keeping your timeout is more valuable than saving that, especially early on, than saving 5 yards. I've seen coaches take timeouts for punts on punts. Why? So you can get 5, so you can maintain the 5 yards on a punt and not have a timeout later. Timeouts are some of the most important assets that you can have in games. So the 5 yards, saving 5 yards for the sake of a timeout, that's the thing that really pisses me off the most. We really haven't seen that. But as far as the go for two or don't go for two, I do think it's kind of a hindsight driven thing. I try not to function in hindsight, but it does feel like it's something you go back to and say, well, if they would have gone for two there, if they wouldn't, it seems results driven. I think it's interesting how DeMeco has done it both ways. And I've seen Kyle Shanahan do it both ways as well. So I find that relatively interesting. Dalton Schultz missed practice for the Texans yesterday. It's an ankle. We'll keep an eye on that. We'll get the injury report today and tomorrow. If he cannot play, then we will likely see Cade Stover and Brevin Jordan sharing the tight end responsibilities. We also saw Cade Stover playing a lot of fullback. He got a shout out from DeMeco and Joe Mixon. I caught up with Cade Stover, the rookie tight end out of Ohio State, asked him how he felt about his performance, and at the tight end position as a whole, not really going to light up the box score a lot. What else can they add? What other elements can they add? It's kind of a selfless position, maybe a thankless position as well. I think Cade Stover's built like that. Here's what he had to say in the Texans locker room after practice.
Mixon gave you a shout out. DeMeco's giving you a shout out.
Yeah, it was great. Just really happy to have a role. Just be able to help this team any way I can in the ball games.
You said you like the physical element. Do you notice Mixon finishing runs and stuff like that, whether you're on the sidelines or there? Does that create some like momentum, some juice, being someone who likes physical stuff?
I think anybody, at least for me, as far as seeing what we saw on Sunday, I've never seen somebody run the ball like that in my life. So when you have somebody running that hard and that effectively, it makes all our job really, really easy.
What else? What are the other elements that you think you're going to bring this year outside of the blocking? Obviously, the league blocking is what we're talking about right now. Yeah. Tight ends, I think not a lot of production from the tight ends in like the box score, but what other elements do you see the position group bringing?
Well, I think we do a lot of. I think that we're kind of we're going to be asked to do a million different things, and whatever it is that week, we'll do a good job at it. So whether it's catching the ball, blocking, whatever we got to do.
You played in some big night games, probably bigger crowds than we even have here, even though it's going to be a full house. Does that kind of prepare you for this situation, or is there a little extra excitement being the first time in the NFL?
I don't know. I haven't played in not getting NFL yet, obviously. So, I can't speak to that yet, but we played in a lot of big games at Ohio State, obviously. So, I'm excited, and I'm excited to feel the nerves of it all.
Appreciate you.
He's excited to feel the nerves. I wouldn't expect anything different from Cade Stover. So you have Dalton Schultz missing practice on the Bears side of things, perhaps a little bit more significant, specifically with the quarterback. Rome Odunze and Keenan Allen both missed practice. Now, Odunze, we don't anticipate he's going to play. He's got a sprained MCL. He had the MRI. I would be shocked if he was out there. I would probably say that's not going to happen. Keenan Allen, you never know, but that would be two of Caleb Williams' top 3 receivers, would leave him with DJ Moore. And you're talking about a passing attack that only threw for 100 yards in the opener against, I think, kind of an underrated Tennessee Titans defense. I will say that. I think that's a damn good defense, especially on the D-lines. We'll keep an eye on those injuries. We're going to watch the game on Sunday Night Football. I have a question for the folks before I get out to practice. Is Sunday Night Football the best primetime product? For me, it's yes. I think from just a fan perspective, it's the best because you get to enjoy the noon to 3. Then you watch Sunday night. You got the blood flowing, the grill going, all that. I think the Sunday night production is the best. You go to work Monday, you're still kind of on that high. Monday night would be number 2 for sure. I think Joe and Troy do an excellent job, but man, it does feel like a long wait when you're talking Monday Night Football. And as great as Monday Night Football is, it's not what it once was. So maybe that's just a matter of kind of comparing Monday Night Football now to what it was. Maybe I'm just getting old and I'm just sitting here going back in my day. Who the hell knows? But do you think Sunday Night Football is the best primetime product? Be sure to swarm the like button, like, subscribe, and remember, we're all in this together when it comes to covering the Texans. Again, DeMeco Ryans and the philosophy. We're kind of learning about it. Dalton Schultz out with an ankle. Cade Stover ready to do whatever he's called upon to do. And then you got to keep an eye on the Chicago Bears receivers. Appreciate you for coming through. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Thanks for pulling up to the locker room.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah,